Well, people, just when you thought it couldn't happen, just when you thought that she couldn't do it again, she does it again. Yep, we're talking about Nikki Haley once again, who's managed to do the impossible. And no, I don't mean winning the state of Iowa. I mean Nikki Haley just ended her own career again. As if the first 3 times weren't bad enough, Nikki Haley proves to the world once again, through another clear, concrete visual and audio example, she's just not made for this. She is not cut out for it. Without the establishment propping her up, she simply would not exist in the political arena. Here's another extremely cringe, incoherent, very bad Nikki Haley moment. Let me show you guys exactly what I mean by that. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so let's have a conversation about being electable. You know, supposedly this guy...
45 in the building to set the stage from Miami, Florida. What an atmosphere.
The man who packs entire frickin' stadiums and can talk for 4 hours straight, keeping a crowd entertained. The man who pulled off one of the biggest election upsets in American history in 2016. That guy is supposedly unelectable, but Nikki Haley, oh, she's the one who can win. Actually, one of the Krasenstein brothers the other day during that January 6th debate with Alex Jones, Glenn Greenwald, and others.
Like I honestly, I think other candidates would have a better shot than Trump to beat Biden. I honestly do.
Woohoo!
I think Nikki Haley, if she there's no way she would get the nomination.
World War III bird brain.
I think she would defeat Biden. I really do.
They're more scared of Nikki Haley than they are Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis. You know, that's the narrative that you see people putting out into the universe. I guess they're attempting to speak it into existence. You hear it all the time. And then there's, well, reality.
So Governor DeSantis is hitting you for claiming the retirement age is, quote, way, way too low. He said, quote, I don't know why she's saying that. So are you saying that? Where do you stand on that?
I have never once said that.
Well, wait. In Bloomberg interview, you said anyone who says they'll leave America bankrupt, Social Security will go bankrupt, Medicare will, so we don't touch anyone's retirement, but go to people like my kids in their 20s and tell them the rules haven't changed. Change the retirement age to reflect life expectancy.
Yes.
I've never seen a politician get so stumped, look like a complete deer in the headlights so often when confronted with their own track record. I keep seeing these establishment shills tell us that Nikki Haley is the perfect person for the job. Experience, competence, intelligence. She can't think on her feet. Ever. It's kind of becoming a problem at this point. Of course, the gaffe from a couple weeks ago.
Please, what was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do. What do you think the cause of the Civil War was?
Probably one of the easiest traps to avoid. Nikki Haley just couldn't do it. She then blamed the person asking the question, claiming that they were a Democrat operative. Is Brett Baier a Democrat operative? Okay, well, maybe he is to a certain extent, but I mean, come on. The way she just melts in these moments makes me think one thing: not qualified for the role. I mean, the awkward body language, the awkward smile, it just comes off so horribly. I still don't get it. This woman is a walking, talking disaster. She is a walking, talking PR nightmare. But somehow, I mean, the numbers keep coming out. Haley cuts into Trump's lead in key early primary state. According to this poll, former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley is cutting into former President Donald Trump's lead in the key early primary state of New Hampshire, polling behind him only by single digits for the first time in this cycle, according to a Tuesday survey. Trump is ahead of Haley, 39% to 32% among likely Republican voters, in the first in the nation primary state, with all other GOP hopefuls garnering 12% support or less. Supposedly, Nikki Haley is within striking distance of Donald Trump, and again, it comes back to the exact same question. How? How is this possible? Somebody who got so embarrassed by Vivek, so exposed on the debate stage, one of the most notorious flip-flopper politicians there is. Of course, Ron DeSantis exposed that quite clearly and visually last week with his campaign ad, and somebody who seems to have zero, and I mean zero, grassroots momentum, somehow she is within striking distance of one of the most popular presidents in modern American history. And I have the stats to back up that claim. Percent of Republicans who believe the following president will be remembered as outstanding/above average. Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump lead the pack at 78 and 76% respectively, followed by the Bushes in the 30%. You know, make it make sense. You can't, because it doesn't. It makes absolutely no sense at all. How somebody so incompetent, so incoherent, can be such a supposed political powerhouse. Honestly, the perfect segue, speaking of making no sense, speaking of incoherent, let me ask you guys a question. Do you follow Nikki Haley on Twitter, or at least do you get her to pop up on your live feed? Somehow, this person is the most competent Republican, ready to take on the task of the job. My husband is deployed. The last thing I want is to send American troops to war. Giving weapons to Ukraine is about preventing war. Apparently, fighting a proxy war, sending Ukrainian men to the frickin' slaughter, spending billions of taxpayer dollars to continue the war endlessly, apparently, that's the best way of preventing war. Giving weapons to foreign nations is the best way of preventing war, says Nikki Haley. Gotta be one of the dumbest things I've ever read. You know, Nikki Haley loves to argue from the point of authority. I have foreign policy experience, therefore I know literally everything. That seems to be the general argument that she makes, but apparently she has not been paying attention to the last however many decades of American interventionist foreign policy, sending weapons to foreign nations only to have those weapons end up in the hands of our enemies, furthering global conflict and crisis, further arming and empowering tyrannical regimes across the world, to then of course turn around and use those weapons against us. Apparently, continuing the status quo of old is the way that we prevent war, says possibly the densest person on Twitter. It's so completely idiotic, and she starts off with the whole "my husband is deployed" thing, as if her husband is fighting on the front line. I mean, give me a break. The truth is that Nikki Haley's husband is tied to a shadowy defense firm. Nikki Haley's husband reports a stake in Allied Defense LLC, a South Carolina company tied to military contractors. In other words, more war equals more dollar, baby. The Haleys will continue to rake it all in, probably handing all kinds of military contracts to enrich themselves, but she uses the whole "my husband is deployed" thing to justify her stance on ending war by sending weapons overseas. Completely idiotic. It makes no sense. Half the shit she tweets makes absolutely no sense. She also tweeted this without any context. "We have to deal with the cancer that is mental health." I'm gonna read that again, because I know you're waiting for me to continue and say something else, but no, she literally just tweeted, "We have to deal with the cancer that is mental health." What? What am I even reading? Whenever this woman speaks or releases a tweet, I ask myself the same question: what am I hearing, or what am I reading? What is this? Is this a prank, bro? But of course I know it's not a prank. What it really is controlled opposition. Nikki Haley is just another establishment little puppet that's being propped up with major donor bucks, that's not representing you, that's not representing the people she purports to represent, but rather represents special interest, and especially military contractor interest. She's a useful tool for the establishment, although it seems as though these days not exactly so useful, as she continues with blunder after blunder after blunder. A walking, talking PR nightmare who seems to be polling very well in New Hampshire, where they've rigged the system with Democrats acting as Republicans in the nomination process, but obviously everywhere else, no chance. She has no actual grassroots movement. Another bought and paid for, unimpressive, Washington entrenched puppet. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys on this one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.